Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Dude in the Housecoat Chat number 54. If you notice my playlist, you will notice that number 53 is not there. I don't know what happened to it. That was my last video. And I also want to make an announcement and a correction. There was a name that I mentioned in my last video from a black fellow named Terrence Howard. It is not Terrence Howard. It is Terrence Williams. He is a very funny man and an entrepreneur, and he is well liked by many people. Anyways, I just want to make sure that that correction is out there. I noticed that after reviewing my video. I like to watch and review my videos after I do them because, well, I'm doing this for fun and I'm hoping to improve every time I get on board. You will notice that I got the light there shining a little bit brighter. Hopefully I have no issues with the pixeling. I got a funny new light down below there that used to be in my face from the last video. I haven't decided to put it somewhere else yet. Remember the scone, folks? The scone is lit, and it is lit for today, the ostriches, and Charlie Kirk's memorial service, and for all of you out there who's missing a loved one or whatever, that is also lit for you and myself. It is many meanings, but I just want to make sure that I bring that up every time you see that scone lit. Anyways, folks, let's just get right into it. Today was a big day. The weekend was crazy-ish in a way. I spent a lot of time reviewing and looking at the memorial of Charlie Kirk from different perspectives, from different people. The story of the ostriches is quite crazy. Our own government is quite crazy. I know, it's just nuts, folks. And here we are, we have the media just not telling you everything. I mean, how many of you know about the ostriches that are being called? This is 10, almost 12 months. It's almost a year, folks. We're heading into October soon. These birds were apparently going to be called in January last year because a couple got sick and died. And please listen very carefully. After they were taken to an animal dump, they were anally swabbed by CIFA to claim that they had the bird flu, basically. And here we are today in September, the 22nd, I'd like to say. Yes, I am correct on the date. That is so good. The RCMP are there. There was a van rental agency, Clearway Rentals. A shout out to them for telling the RCMP and the outfit that is attempting to do the cleanup afterwards that please give us our vans back that you rented. We want no part of the culling of these pet birds. And yes, people, they are pet birds. And get this, since COVID hit, they've also been researched on by an organization whose name escapes me at the moment, but they are actually doing research on the eggs, the immunity that these birds have, and whatever sickness that they had, the birds now have immunity to. Go figure. Just like our own natural immunity, folks. Yes, birds are resilient, especially the ostrich. And I also want to remind people, if you have not been following the story or whatever, is that they are pet birds, basically. These birds were not meant for consumption. The eggs weren't meant to be sold, to be eaten. They were birds, about approximately 400 of these birds. Now, if there was an epidemic and if there was more birds that have died throughout the course of the year, I would be saying, well, maybe they need to be called, and the poor people who run the ostrich farm out of Edgewood, I believe. Yes, it is near Vernon in that particular area of British Columbia. And the RCMP showed up there today, a member of the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Now remember, folks, I said these are pet birds. They weren't for food, they weren't for consumption, and yet the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is insisting on killing these birds because they have a mandate that was given to them by basically who? The United Nations and a few other things, folks. Outside agencies of Canada trying to dictate how we do things in this country. And sadly to say, my own government in British Columbia has enacted a law that they will follow whatever who the UN recommends during crises. Folks, we never gave up our rights to be sovereign. And somehow our governing people are doing it for us. That in itself should be shocking. The fact that they want to kill 400 pet birds is another shocking thing, right? You know, you just take a look at all going on in this world, in this country, and I want to be funny, and I want to chuckle, and I want to celebrate stuff. But my goodness, when we have people that have done murder in cold blood being released on bail the next day, and then now we have RCMP, and I heard there's up to 35 RCMP vehicles in the vicinity of this ostrich farm. They have now set up a perimeter basically on the road to allow people to leave, but they can't come back in. So the RCMP is acting like a gate stop and whatever else that they want to try and do here. And yet we have people being released from jail. We have people shooting up streets in the all over Canada, right? It's not a legal firearm problem, and I know, don't get me started on that stuff. I don't really want to go there. But the fact is, we have murderers. We have shootings in Saskatchewan that they don't have a clue what's going on. We have all these things, and yet the government bootstraps, the people with tall foreheads who think they're important, insist that this has to be done, are not doing any due diligence and listening to the people who have the bird. Our Supreme Court is not willing to listen to new evidence, yet there is still a Supreme Court issue that could hopefully help these people, but the previous court would not allow them to introduce their evidence from scientists, folks, people who got brains, who've done research, who tabulated stuff, and all of a sudden the government said, no, we won't allow it. But the government then allowed CIFA new evidence claiming that these birds have more dangerous variants of diseases in them. But remember what I mentioned earlier, folks, they were in a kill pit with other dead animals for over a week before they had their diseased asses violated by somebody from CFIA. And what did they use to determine that they had bird flu? Is the PCR test, which the creator of this PCR test said it is not meant for COVID or bird flu. And here we are using these testing devices. The people with tall foreheads are not even acknowledging that. And, you know, I just got to have a sip of coffee here because this ostrich thing blows my mind because it's pets. Pets, people, not chickens, not turkeys. I mean, even if the ostriches were sold for meat, that is a different story. These are pets, okay? They don't sell the meat. They don't sell the eggs. They just raise them because they love the bird. In Canada, we have a free country, supposedly, and now we're being dictated to. Oh, wow. And then, you know what? And everybody is elbows up on Donald Trump. But meanwhile, there are so many issues going on in this country, just like the gun control stuff, just like the ostrich farm, the trial that Tamara Lynch and Chris Barber are going through, which it's now what? September 2025. And when was the convoy? 21, 22, right? It was just a long time ago. And they're still doing a mischief trial on that. And they want to take Chris Barber's truck away. His truck at the protest because it was a symbol. A symbol. Oh my God, it's a beautiful rig, folks. I used to go in Lethbridge, Alberta when I was a kid. My dad would take me to a lot of these big rig events that happened. You know, the Worlds of Wheels that showed up, but sometimes there would be just rigs. And we went and checked out the rigs, and they were nice back then in the late 70s, early 80s. And now, you know, truckers are bad somehow. But what do we got going on? We got protests galore. We got everything else like that. And the police, again, the RCMP, are acting as their personal escorts, giving them coffee, making sure they can pray on the road, and do all these things. But if you are a decent human being in this country, you are a criminal in the eyes of our government, folks. A criminal. And you know what I have to say, while we're doing a rant here, because it is just annoying to see that our media is not being very helpful to the public, because they need money and the government is the one basically willing to give it to them, and they are towing the line for the government. I mean, sheesh. And I ask yourself this, and if you're paying attention to my show, and I know I'm rambling on about the ostriches, but how much have you actually heard about these ostriches? I mean, seriously, it should be a big news story. And I'm glad Rebel's there. Really glad, and other independent media are there as well. A shout out to Dre Humphrey. I hope that things work out well and that you can continue on reporting. I also want to mention that they cut the power to the farm people. I think the power has been restored, but they have a couple of parents there, older people that are, and I don't really want to say paraplegic, but they have health needs, and I'm assuming that the power would be beneficial for them, especially if they're paraplegic and such, right? All I know is that our government does not care for us. It truly doesn't. And I know they don't care for us because they went to court, people. Our government went to court because somebody tried to sue them that they have a duty to care for its citizens. And the people that went in this case lost to the government. And the court sided with the government because the government says we have no duty to care for its citizens. Well, you got that right because they're certainly helping out all the people that are coming over here illegally, right? Don't have to care for us, but they're willing to bend over backwards to make sure somebody's got a hotel, to make sure that somebody's getting money every day. But meanwhile, we have seniors living in ice fishing tents in Nova Scotia. We have huge drug problems all across the country. And everybody is just yickety-yak, yakety-yak, yickety-yak. But anyways, enough about the ostriches and everything else. I love to talk. What I'd like to talk next is the Charlie Kirk Memorial thing that happened yesterday, which I caught a lot of. And I didn't watch the whole thing, it was a bit of a tearjerker in my mind, especially because I really want to get this out. First, is that the one thing that I do notice now that I've seen more of Charlie Kirk in the last 12 days, basically, on my feeds on X or YouTube, and I never actively sought out Charlie Kirk, but because he was unalive or whatever you want to call it. I know YouTube does their suppression thing, and I'm trying to make sure that my video gets reach. It doesn't get restricted because I say certain words. But Charlie Kirk's memorial yesterday was attended by a lot of people. The lineup out the door and everything else like that. And the people are saying that he was a vile man, he was homophobic, he was transphobic, he was racist and everything else. I'd like to know where. I've seen the shortened clips that people have played that said, oh, he said these things. But when you take the whole interview or the whole segment of his session that he's having on a particular topic, you will realize that he is not racist. He doesn't really hate trans or lesbians or gay people or anything like that. He wants dialogue. He is strong in his Christian faith. I would almost have to say, and this is just a little bit emotional speaking out of me, is that he's almost like a Christ-like figure. He is not Jesus by any means, but he lived his life like he was taught by Jesus himself, and he was one of the 12 disciples. I've never seen him get really mad, raise his voice in any argument. He has been polite, cordial, even when they were insulting to him. Yes, he fired back some quips and everything else, but he never really raised his voice, and he never really put the other person down. I mean, if he was racist, would he actually say to a young black woman who's holding her newborn baby that she has a gift from God and is so precious and loving to see you with your child? Really? And the name that I mentioned that I had to do a correction on, Terrence, that fellow, yes, people should listen to him and follow that man as well. All I have to say is that Charlie Kirk took black kids to the White House on his dime. He helped out many people, and he never shied away from anything. And the one thing that I heard from Tucker Carlson yesterday was Tucker saying, "Oh, I can't forgive people. I can't, like there's just issues that I have." I'm paraphrasing, and I might even be misquoting Tucker. But the response that Kirk gave him when he's talking about the other side and people that are angry or misaligned or whatever, he said those people need Jesus. And we have to help them find it so that they can live a better life. I don't know many other people who are pundits who go to colleges or anything like that. They're trying to encourage people to read more, to be more Christ-like, and to be loving. than I have of Charlie Kirk in the last little while. Now, I never agreed with a lot of the things. I never agreed with him completely or whatever, but I enjoyed listening to him and his rationale, his knowledge for a person who's never went to college or university. His mind was like a steel trap, and he had the information there. And it was hard not to lose against Charlie. But I don't think he lost many debates, and he was always open for dialogue and finding commonality. And this man lost his life for speaking words. And, it is a shame. It is just sad. But, to the person who shot him, from Erica herself, what she said yesterday in her memorial, oh, I'm almost going to choke up, but she forgives him. Her quote and everything else that she said is quite the statement. Now, she also said that she doesn't want to be the one that decides if he gets the death penalty because she doesn't want that on her ledger. And this is not from the memorial. This is from before. So that's up for the government and those people to decide. But the fact that she forgives him, and you know what? Even Charlie would have forgave him if he were have survived. Now, I'm not going to go on about all the conspiracies or anything else that are around there that's going on about Kirk, the shooter, and everything else like that. There's too many people doing that already. And I just think it takes away the message that this young man had. He was only 31, and he had a long life ahead of him. I'm 53 years old, and I'm trying to remember my 31st year. I mean, life is precious, and it goes by so quick. And yes, Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be put in the ground for his words. There's plenty of other people that I can think of that deserve to be put in the ground, but it certainly wasn't Kirk, and it's just sad, and it's sad. And like I said, I don't want to talk about any of the conspiracy theories or anything like that, or who said what, or did you hear candidates this and all that, candidates Owens or whatever. Like people are canceling people because, they're taking on this view, I'm siding with this person. At the end of the day, a very decent man who lived a life that was, I'm pretty sure that even Jesus himself said, damn, you're so close to me. You almost became me. And now he's up there in the big sky, probably hanging out with JC himself. I'm not a very religious person in the aspect of going to church. Like I can pull out a book here. It's an old book. I had to share this book with somebody else. The Acts of the Apostles. And it is a very good book. And yes. It's about Jesus, and there's a whole bunch of religious scholars all debating what Jesus was and everything else. So, yeah, that was an emotional thing yesterday. And I also like to say there's this stone flip for the missing child in my old community of the Crow's Nest Pass. I don't think the child is really from the community, somebody camping, but the boy is missing around Island Lake. And the boy is, I guess, nonverbal autistic. So positive vibes to the people out there looking for the child. The scone is lit. And I hope the child is found. There is a lot of wilderness in that area. And, the river lakes is close by, I believe. And who knows? I hope they find that child. A nonverbal autistic child, he may be hiding and may not respond to people calling him. And folks, since I touched on a little bit of Mark Carney, and I'm going to touch on Mark Carney here, I hope my fellow Canadians are realizing what the frick is going on. You have the most non-European of European Canadian in Mark Carney. When he said he recognizes the state of Palestine, that's fine. I'm not in agreement with the raise the state because of Hamas and a whole host of stuff. I'm not here to debate or talk about what's going on over there. I just want to point out that when he spelled the word recognize on his page for the social media accounts that this gets plastered out there, X, Facebook, Instagram, whatever the Prime Minister's office is using to get the message out there, he is using the British spelling of that word, recognize. It should be a Z, not an S. On my XPad or iPad, which is right here, I have the British thing on there, and I'm just too lazy to put it back to American, Canadian English. And some people call me a boomer because of my spelling, but like I said, I'm a little too lazy to set it back to where it should be. Anyways, Mark Carney and the Liberals, folks, are what? Delaying the budget. More people are leaving. And the fact that, more stuff has come out about Brookfield and its ties to all the different things that are going on in our country regarding projects. It stinks, folks. It stinks. I could hold my nose. It stinks, stinks, stinks. The budget won't be released till November 4th. That stinks, stinks, stinks. We have probably $100 billion deficit coming. I'm afraid it might be more just from what I've been listening to online. And he's calling this all future investments, folks. It's not future investments, it's future tax-paying dollars out of your pocket and out of my pocket to pay for dreamy projects that aren't even going to get done. Like, if we're in such a crisis, why is it going to take 4 years to get something built? When Germany, of all places, Germany built a liquid natural gas receiving plant so they can get liquid natural gas off a boat in months, folks. Months. China is building everything under the sun at rapid rate. All the coal plants, the solar fields, everything. Their high-speed rail, they are on a marching order over there. Meanwhile, in North America, everything's on a snail pace. I mean, wow, look at the high-speed rail that they've been attempting in California. They got, 9 miles of track laid in 20 years, and it's in the billions of dollars. No, we have things so backwards in this country. Canada could be a powerhouse for its own citizens, but instead we have a lack of outsiders, including Mark Carney. I don't care if he was born in Canada. He has not acted Canadian in a long, long time. His wife is not even living with him. His child's not even around. His child's old and grown. So that's besides the point. But here we are in this country of ours, and it's going down faster than you can say it. And if you have money, folks, and I wish I had money, and I wish I could have kept every darn dollar I've ever had for savings and other things, and I would be leaving myself because, wow, why would I want to keep paying into something that's not giving me any benefits? It's just not. I mean, this country, with all our resources, we could be like Norway, a net positive GDP. Instead, every Canadian has a net negative GDP, which means we basically owe more than what we're producing. And when did the government get included into our gross domestic product as a output of performance of how well we're doing as a country? Because that's basically what the GDP numbers mean: gross domestic products that we've sold, things that we've made money with. The government doesn't make money from us. It always takes. And it will never be an investment vehicle to grow this country. That is why capitalism has survived for so long, and communism and socialism has basically been sputter, pitter patter, and failing. You look at America, folks. Even though they're 36 trillion or plus in debt, things are turning around this year. And if it continues, and I do hope it continues, because our biggest trading partner is the United States, and if it can get its engine running, and if we can get Carney and all these asshats out of the way that are trying to sabotage a deal for trade, and I'm serious when I say our own government is sabotaging our trade, because nobody is actually in line over there. Melanie Jolie says so many things that are just asinine. And what? Mark Carney, he's just, crisis, investment, crisis, investment. He is not a person here to lead us, folks. He is a person here to make sure that we end up being like the other countries that are going down, the UK, Australia. and New Zealand, all these Commonwealth countries have a common denominator. And it seems like these people are taking the orders from the King, Charles, and the WF, folks, the World Economic Forum. And I hate to put that out there, too, because that's another rabbit hole of things that are going on in our country. But the fact of the matter is, people, I am going to say this, and I really do hope you guys listen. And remember, like I said, I'm not going to show you on the screen, but Moose on the Loose on YouTube or X. He's probably on Instagram and TikTok, but go find him. I think there might be a description of his name in my description. Please have a look there as well. All I could say, folks, is that I'm glad the ostriches have lived another day. I'm hoping their emergency stay order makes it to the Supreme Court so that they can have an injunction to slow this process or end it so that they don't have to worry anymore. And also, to all the people that set up, had the memorial quiet time for Charlie Kirk and are in a realization that, a decent man was taken down. I will say this, to those that are cheering this on, you don't know how much you made him, like the person who shot him, you don't know what he made of him. He's like Obi-Wan Kenobi right now. If you strike me down now, I will be more powerful than you can ever imagine. His message will live on forever now, and there will be no chance for this young man whose life has ended that he's ever going to have a controversy or a scandal in the future because he's no longer here. So his pure, unadulterated message that he had from his heart, he wasn't perfect, but he encountered everybody and tried to engage, to find commonality and other things. This show is almost 30 minutes long. It's number 54. I have been talking quite a bit. Remember, the scone is lit for everybody who's lost a loved one and everything else like that and in between. And I just want to send out some positive vibes to everybody because, well, the world needs it. We need it, and let's just be a powerful voice to bring good change to this country. Let's not be sheep anymore. Let's speak up, people. Let's speak up. And if you haven't been to an SPCA, go at least once. You don't have to adopt a pet, but please consider it. Thank you, and have a good day. The dude abides.